You've arrived at Unlearn with Louisa, the self-development podcast where we explore the beliefs, patterns, and behaviours we've all unconsciously picked up along the way. Whether it's in relationships or how we treat ourselves, here we focus on unlearning our past to create the future that we actually want. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Unlearn. I feel like I need a new fucking intro because I say that every episode and it's giving me the ick, guys. I'm just adjusting this. If you're a weekly listener and you've clicked on this episode and you're not feeling anxiously attached, save this video for when you're in that really heightened, triggered state and you need support and you don't know what the fuck to do. And let me tell you, if you're in a position right now and you're someone with an anxious attachment and you're in a phase where you're not feeling anxiously attached, and you're like, fuck, it's been so long since I felt like that because I'm fully single and I'm not talking to anyone. Let me just remind you that it will come again. There will be a time where you may engage with someone that re-triggers that feeling. So many times I have felt, I'm good now, I'm fine. And then I will encounter something or a situation will happen and those feelings will be brought up and I just have to return to the anxious attachment toolbox every damn time. So this is my little secret on healing an anxious attachment. If you know anybody that is currently feeling really activated, and if you don't have the language for what this even is, if you know someone or if you are someone that when they're in a talking phase with someone or they're in a relationship and you perceive a threat. So let's say your boyfriend doesn't text you back for a few hours or goes out with the boys and doesn't communicate. Or if, your partner has a really close female friend and they're spending time together and it brings up feelings for you. This is the episode to turn to. Okay, so save this video for later or send it to a friend that's dealing with anxious feelings or fearful feelings. This is the survival toolkit on how to get through that, because the first principle of the anxious attachment toolkit, the first and the most primary important piece of information, if you listen to nothing else in this episode, but this is the piece of information that you keep, it will hold you in good stead. Do not act from this place. If you are activated into your fight or flight and you're feeling anxious about what your partner or situationship or person or even friend, that you are perceiving a rejection and you're feeling anxious and you're feeling scared and you feel that fight or flight response and your heart rate increases and you don't feel hungry, your appetite's suppressed, you feel like you want to rip out of your skin and run and you feel stressed, and the immediate response to that, your brain's response to that will be to go to them, unless you've done some work and some training. So your immediate response will probably be to go seek reassurance, say something, react, blow up their phone, send messages, call them, whatever the response, whatever the automated response is for you, do not act. That is the first thing. If you're feeling triggered, the last thing that's going to make it better is acting. I'm not saying to you, do not speak to the person about what's going on, because there very may well be something that you need to discuss with your partner or situationship or whoever it is that's triggered you. 100%. I'm not saying that you should never talk about what's going on for you with that person, but it's how you deliver it that will determine the success of that conversation. The success of that conversation also has the power to heal your attachment and soothe your trauma, or it can exacerbate it and worsen it. So if you go to people when you're highly activated, there is a very high chance that you will deliver that message in a way that may not be able to be received in the best way possible. And that can really injure your relationship with that person and your relationship with yourself. And we want to avoid that. So part of healing is setting people up for success, being authentic 100%, but taking responsibility for what is ours. And we cannot take responsibility for what is ours if we're just automatically going straight to the other person. So we need to do a little bit of digging about what's going on with this trigger and what is yours to own and what is to be taken into the relationship for feedback. Because when we're highly triggered, when we're in that fight or flight space, it 1000% feels like the other person's the problem. And we will either attack or avoid. So we want to just take a pause. The first thing you want to do if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling activated by a trigger, pause and slow the fuck down. Slow the fuck down. You may also feel a reaction. Instead of attacking the other person, you might want to start to play games and keep yourself safe and, post on your story or do some sort of bids for attention that keep you in this safe, your ego's way of keeping you safe. Posting a story with someone or whatever. I can't really think of some ideas, but that's usually what I hear. Often what we can do when we feel activated is we want to run from our feelings. And what running from our feelings looks like is going shopping, quickly staying busy, calling 50 people, distracting, just trying to escape. We're trying to escape the feeling. And I know your whole body's going to be telling you not to do this, but you want to slow down. You want to slow down. You want to acknowledge what you're feeling and check in with yourself and see yourself for the trigger that you're in. We cannot do anything until you are able to be aware and see where you're at. Because the reality is there is a part of you inside, whether it's your inner child or another part of you, that is highly activated. It's historical. And that part needs to be seen and heard and loved. And that part is looking to be seen, heard, and loved through the person that you're triggered by. But we can't go to people with a bottomless cup. We need to do that ourselves first. So you need to see, hear, and love yourself first in those moments if you want to heal this fucking attachment. All right? So when we slow down, so first things I want you to do is slow down. Take a deep breath. See where the feeling is in your body. Is it in your, if I feel anxious or fearful, it's usually in my solar plexus. It's just under my chest. Some people might feel it in their hands. They might feel it in their top of their chest, their legs, whatever, wherever it is. I want you to slow down and see yourself for where you are in the trigger. So where's the feeling in your body? What is the story? You might not be able to articulate because your thoughts might be running a million miles, but I want you to just slowly just calm down, take deep breaths, feel where it is, ground yourself. What can you feel? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you taste in your mouth? Just get grounded to the present moment, okay? Then I want you to realize that when it comes to dealing with anxious attachment, and when we are in the emergency room of anxious attachment, of the trigger, we want to approach healing through a 3-prong framework. And that's through the body, the mind, and the spirit. Because anxious attachment impacts all of those areas. We feel feelings in our body, our mind is racing with a narrative, and spiritually we're disconnected from our authentic self. And spiritually, it's usually quite a historical problem from childhood that it's triggering. Not always, but a lot of the time there is a belief system that we're feeling spiritually void. Now, to tackle it through the body, some options for you are to, of course, do a meditation, go for a run, expel the energy, go for a walk, stretch, yoga, put something on the TV, a quick little physical reset. So you want to tackle it through the body. But before you tackle it through the body, it's also a good idea, I find, journaling first. So tackle it through the mind first. So you could journal, call a friend. I have a video on this on my TikTok where it's called Tackling Negative Thoughts, or what to do next time you have a negative thought. But it's basically this cognitive behavioral therapy sheet that I take you through where you get the thought that needs to be questioned and you break it down. So what is the evidence for this thought? What is the evidence against it? Am I having this thought out of habit, or am I having this thought because it's grounded in reality? Would other people have a different interpretation of this scenario? Is there a belief that this thought is triggering, and who gave that to me, and are they a reliable source? And you break it down and you take it through. And another thing I'll do in coaching with a client is, if they're having these fearful, anxious thoughts, we might grab the thought and then we write 20, which is a lot, of 20 other ways we could look at the same scenario. And that just helps you realize, because when it's such a high number like 20, oh my God, sorry guys, I just had to pause the fucking recording because my camera overheated. That's not ideal, is it? Not fun. What was I saying? Okay, so yeah, you want to do such a large number like 20 because it just really forces you to see how many different ways a situation could be for somebody. Whereas with an anxious mind, we lock in to there being one reality, and the reality is that I'm being abandoned and rejected. You want to tackle it from your mind. Another way to tackle it from your mind is to check your reality. And I don't mean with the other person yet. That may be something you can do later, but for now, straight away you're triggered. I want you to call a safe person. Talk to your best friend. Talk to somebody that understands what it's like to feel like this, and check with, say, look, this is what's happened. This is how I'm feeling. What do you think? Like, what's your version of this scenario? Because when you talk to your friends, like, they're not in the heightened emotional state with you. They're not in the trigger with you, so they can see the situation more clearly, and they can help you articulate what it is you need and want in order to discover what you can bring to that other person. So for example, let's say you are triggered because your boyfriend went out with the boys and said he would send you a message, or said he'd be home by a certain time, and, ghosted you for the night, which is fucking dark. But anyway, let's say that happened, right? So obviously there's going to be this urgency to want to call, text, have a go at him. You want to soothe yourself through your journaling, through moving your body, looking after yourself. And in the journal, I want you to figure out, okay, where is the line here? Where is it that they've crossed a boundary of mine? And where is it that I need to also take responsibility? Let's say they were out with their family, or they were at work and they were home late, and that scenario, you don't feel triggered at all. You're like, no worries. But because there's other women around, there's a responsibility basically you need to take for a certain level of this trigger. And it's about, how do you come to your partner or whoever it is in that setting? You could say something more productive, which is like, hey, the other night, look, I felt X, Y, and Z when you didn't reply to me last night when you were drinking. I don't want you to feel like you can't go out drinking, and I don't want to feel that every time you go out drinking, I'm going to be forgotten about or abandoned. And it's not even about you not having a good time. It's just communication. It's really easy to send a message. And so in the future, can we agree to something that works for both of us? And that type of conversation, that wasn't the best way that I articulated it, but you get the gist. That type of a conversation, that problem-solving conversation where you can take responsibility and say, hey, stuff came up for me around this. It's not fully yours to own. However, we need to meet in the middle here, and I'm taking responsibility for the fact that that was activating for me. We need to be able to come to a solution here where you can feel the freedom to do what you want and I can trust you, but I also don't want to feel on edge every time you go out, and that can be avoided by you sending me a message or whatever, and we can figure out what that looks like. That is emotionally safe love. If a guy turns around to you, or a woman, whatever, whoever you're dating, if somebody turns around to you when you have done your very best at communicating, and look, if you go to them in a trigger and you work through it, but if you put a boundary in and you figured out what you need to be in a successful relationship, and someone comes at you and says, oh, that's this, I don't want to do that, and la la la, or you're making a big deal, oh, I was just out with the boys, give me a break. Or I hear it a lot with the liking girls on Instagram, oh, I just liked the photo. If somebody is more defensive about a behavior that they want to continue than they are defensive about your well-being and the relationship you guys share together, that is a red flag. It doesn't give you much room and wiggle room to grow as a couple. Because I don't know about you, but for me, If my partner or somebody that I care about came to me and there was something that I was doing that was hurting them, and it could be avoided by a 10-second low effort thing to do, even if it was higher effort, I would do it because I love and care about them. I would appreciate that they would take responsibility for the fact that, it's not on me to heal them, but relationships are about collaboration, emotional collaboration around what we've been through in the past and what makes each other feel comfortable. And people that get defensive, if your partner gets defensive when you feel triggered, that behavior is going to have to grow and stop. Like, they're going to have to do some work on that. Like, it really doesn't leave you with much because life happens, emotions come up. If you can't work through that stuff, it's hard, So then we want to tackle it through the spirit. I want you to think about, if you do believe in God and the universe, tap into your relationship with your angels, with the universe, with, maybe you do a card reading. I want you to tap into your spiritual belief. And if you don't believe in that stuff, I want you to tap into the principles of spirituality. So having faith and trust that everything's going to work out for you. Surrendering the outcome. If you're triggered by a situationship, surrendering that the universe has your back, surrendering that what will be, letting go, the principle of letting go. Then also, when you're triggered, serving others, being of service, helping. Where can I go and help someone right now so I can get out of my head and I can not think about myself? Utilize the principles of the universe in order to heal this trigger. So you want to tackle it through those angles. Now, when you deal with the mind part of it, let's go back to the journaling. Some things you might want to ask yourself. What is the root cause? When did I first feel like this? What is this reminding me of? What is this situation triggering within me? What do I have to believe about myself to feel like this? And discover what's going on from your past that's bringing this into the present moment. What age are you when this trigger was first felt in your body? This will help you ground to your past and understand the root cause. And that's something you can heal. That's something you can take to therapy, to coaching, wherever, talk about with your friends. And it's also something you can let your partner in on if you're in a relationship, or, it's something you can talk to your friends about if you're single. All right, guys, you've got to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for having me in your ears today. I wish you all the best with the trigger that's coming up for you. If you would like more from me, coaching is available. If you want to click the link down below in the show notes, I am here for you if you need more one-on-one support. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode, and congratulations for choosing to create a future that's actually yours. If you got something out of this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, and keep up to date with me by following wherever you listen to this episode. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you could also leave a review. If you want more from me, you can find me on any platform at Unlearn with Louisa, or head over to my website unlearnwithlouisa.com to work with me as a coach. And I will see you at the next episode.